communities safe. Potential steps now can help keep the risk to you and your community low. Americans can find useful information at cdc.gov/COVID-19.
Akkor lehet, hogy az még érzékelő, hogy azon keresztül nem kaptad meg az engedélyt a YouTube-tól, de hát az előbb mégis engedett volna menni. Valami itt van a beállításokban.
There are 5 major priorities in the White House request to Congress that the White House made on Monday. These priorities are: first, expanding our surveillance network; second, support for state and local governments work; third and fourth, development of therapeutics and vaccines; and fifth, manufacturing and purchase of personal protective equipment like gowns and masks. As chairman of the President's Coronavirus Task Force, I'm committed to providing regular updates from our coordinated interagency process. We've had our top public health leaders, like those joining me here today, speaking to the media many times per day to inform the American public. The Trump administration is going to continue to be aggressively transparent, keeping the American people and the media apprised of the situation and what everyone can do. With that, I'm going to hand things over to Dr. Ann Schuchat. Dr. Schuchat is the senior career official at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the principal deputy director, with an over 30-year career at the CDC in public health and as a member of the United States Public Health Service Commission Corps. So, Dr. Schuchat, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Mr. Secretary. As you know, this has been a difficult and challenging time, and our hearts go out to the individuals who have been directly affected by the virus and to all those who have been working tirelessly in responding to it. Our aggressive containment strategy here in the United States has been working and is responsible for the low levels of cases that we have so far. However, we do expect more cases. And this is a good time to prepare. As you heard, it's the perfect time for businesses, healthcare systems, universities, and schools to look at their pandemic preparedness plans, dust them off, and make sure that they're ready. And we have lots more information at the CDC's website and in partnership on how to do that. But it's also a really good time for the American public to prepare and for you to know what this means for you. The coronavirus that we're talking about is a respiratory virus. It's spread in a similar way to the common cold or to influenza. It's spread through coughs and sneezes. And so those everyday sensible measures that we tell people to do every year with the flu are important here. Covering your cough, staying home when you're sick, and washing your hands. Tried and true, not very exciting measures, but really important ways that you can prevent the spread of respiratory viruses. So the trajectory of what we're looking at over the weeks and months ahead is very uncertain, but many of the steps that we have taken over the past 15 years to prepare for pandemic influenza and our experience going through the 2009 H1N1 pandemic of influenza remind us of the kinds of steps that our healthcare system, our businesses, our communities and schools may need to take. We're in this together, all of government, the public and the private sector, and the CDC wants to make sure you have the best information available every day. Thank you.
I just want to give you a very quick update on my name is Dr. Tony Fauci. I'm the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases at NIH. Just a very quick update on the countermeasure development in the form of vaccines and therapeutics. I had told this audience at a recent press briefing that we have a number of vaccine candidates and one prototype one to give you a feel for the time frame of a vaccine and what its impact might be now and in subsequent years, is that I told you we would have a vaccine that we would be putting into trials to see if it's safe and if it induces a response that you would predict would be protective in about 3 months. I think it's going to be a little bit less than that. It's probably going to be closer to 2 months. That would then take about 3 months to determine if it's safe and immunogenic, which gives us 6 months Then you graduate from a trial, which is phase 1 of 45 people, to a trial that involves hundreds, if not low thousands of people to determine efficacy.
Sziasztok!
At the earliest,
Ez
an
most
efficacy
élőben megy a
trial
Fox
would take an
TV
additional 6 to
csatornán,
8
az
months.
elnök beszél
So
a
although this is the
vírusról.
fastest we have ever gone from a sequence of a virus to a trial, it still would not be any applicable to the epidemic unless we really wait about a year to a year and a half. Now, that means two things. One, the answer to containing is public health measures. We can't rely on a vaccine over the next several months to a year. However, if this virus, which we have every reason to believe it is quite conceivable that it will happen, will go beyond just a season and come back and recycle next year. If that's the case, we hope to have a vaccine. And then finally and briefly, therapeutics. There are a number of antiviral drugs that are being tested. A few days ago, we initiated a randomized controlled trial of a drug called remdesivir, which has antiviral activity in vitro in an animal model. The good news about that is that it's a trial that's randomized to either placebo or standard of care and drug and standard of care, which means that we will know reasonably soon whether it works. And if it does, we will then have an effective therapy to distribute. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. First of all, you have just come from a long and busy trip from India. And
Great country.
As far as this coronavirus is concerned, you have a great scientific and medical team behind you and with you, and I'm sure they will keep America safe. As far as your trip to India, Mr. President, where do we go from here as far as US-India relations are concerned? And also, Mr. President, you are very famous in India, and Prime Minister Modi is very famous in America. What is the future? Indian American community is with you, Mr. President.
Yeah, we won't talk too much about that other than I just got back. Long flight. It's a long flight. He's a great gentleman, a great leader. It's an incredible country. We were treated very, very well, and we really enjoyed it. A lot of tremendous progress was made in terms of relationship. Our relationship with India is extraordinary right now, and we're going to be doing a lot of business with India. They're sending billions and billions of dollars now to the United States, but we'd rather talk about this right now.
The CDC said yesterday that they believe it's inevitable that the virus will spread in the United States, and it's not a question of if, but when. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, I don't think it's inevitable. It probably will. It possibly will. It could be at a very small level, or it could be at a larger level. Whatever happens, we're totally prepared. We have the best people in the world. You see that from the study. We have the best prepared people, the best people in the world. Congress is willing to give us much more than we're even asking for. That's nice for a change. But we are totally ready, willing, and able. It's a term that we use. It's ready, willing, and able. We have. It's going to be very well under control. Now, it may get bigger. It may get a little bigger. It may not get bigger at all. We'll see what happens. But regardless of what happens, we're totally prepared. Please.
You talked a little earlier about the screening measures that you put in place and the travel restrictions you put in place from China. At this point, as the virus spreads in Italy and South Korea, are you planning on adding those countries?
Well, just so you understand, I'm the president of the United States. I'm not the president of other countries. Other countries, I'm on the list that are very respected in what they do in terms of what we're talking about. But I really want to be responsible for this country if it means placing a very strong situation on the border so people can't come into our country from a country that is infected. We're doing that, and we've already done it with numerous countries. But we have to focus on this country. I don't think it's right to impose ourselves on others. But if others aren't taking care, or we think they're doing it incorrectly, we're dealing with the
chaten.
and we have terrific people. And
Csak hogy lássam, hogy működik a dolog, ez az első livestream.
Recommendations as what to do. But they're working on their countries, and we're working on our countries. And so far, from our standpoint, it's really worked out very well.
To follow up on this question, can you clarify, are you considering restricting travel to and from South Korea, Italy, and other countries that have been affected?
At the right time, we may do that. Right now, it's not the right time, but at the right time, and we are checking people as they come through, specifically for the problem that we're dealing with. So we're checking a lot of people. If they're coming from South Korea's been hit pretty hard. Italy's been hit pretty hard. China is obvious what's happened in China. But again, the numbers seem to be leveling off and going down in China, which is very good news. So we'll see what happens.
The White House has spent a day denying that they are going to appoint a czar to run point on the coronavirus response. Today, the Secretary Azar testified that he didn't think one was necessary. They were going to run it out of HHS. And you yourself have been downplaying this. So why are you now selecting the vice president?
Well, Mike is not Azari's vice president. He's in the administration. But I'm having everybody report to Mike. Mike's been very good, very adept. Anybody that knows anything about healthcare, they look at the Indiana model, and it's been a very great success. It's been a tremendous model in terms of healthcare, and this is really an offshoot of that. So this isn't a czar. I don't view Mike as a czar. Mike is part of the administration, but I'm having them report to Mike. Mike will report to me. They'll also be reporting in some cases to both. I'll be going to meetings quite a bit, depending on what they want to do and what message we want to get out. But we've done really an extraordinary job when you look at a country this size, with so many people pouring in, with the number one in the world for people coming into a country by far. And we have a total of 15 cases, many of which, almost much within a day, I will tell you, most of whom are fully recovered. I think that's really a pretty impressive mark. Now, we did take in 40 people that were Americans, and they're also recovering, but we brought them in, so I have a different group. But we felt we had an obligation to American citizens outside of the country that were trying to get back in. We thought it was very important.
The stock market has taken a big hit over the past few days. What can you do about that? And if the CDC is right in saying that the spread is inevitable, are you going to be dealing with stock market issues and economic issues for some time to come?
Well, I really think the stock market is something I know a lot about. I think it took a hit maybe for two reasons. I think they look at the people that you watched debating last night and they say if there's even a possibility that can happen. I think it really takes a hit because of that. And it certainly took a hit because of this, and I understand that also because of supply chains and various other things and people coming in. But I think the stock market will recover. The economy is very strong. The consumer is the strongest it's ever been. Our consumers are incredible. They're incredible. That's why we're doing well. Other countries have not, even before the virus.
Össze van egy kicsit szakadva, de most kell részvényeket vásárolni. Főleg légitársaságoknak a részvényei.
Have you been presented any plans that would involve quarantine cities like we saw in China, and what would have to happen for you to take a step?
We do have plans of on a much larger scale, should we need that. We're working with states. We're working with virtually every state. And we do have plans on a larger scale if we need it. We don't think we're going to need it, but, you always have to be prepared. And, again, Congress is talking about funding, and
szerintem itt csak eltitkolják, majd itt kitörne a pánik, hogyha megtudnák az emberek az igazat.
We'll take it.
How much money are you willing to give Congress if they're going $6 billion?
Most hoztunk $120 még kaját, meg én is vettem múltkor $100.
Elvileg areas where you can keep people safely. We're working really well with states. It's a very big part of it. So, my attitude of Congress wants to give us the money so easy. It wasn't very easy for the wall, but we got that one done. If they want to give us the money, we'll take the money. We'll just do a good job with it. Yeah, please. Go ahead.
Mr. President, should Americans be going out getting protective equipment such as masks and so forth? And if so, what is the U.S. doing to boost production of masks?
Well, we can get a lot of it. In fact, we've ordered a lot of it just in case we need it. We may not need it. You understand that. But in case we're looking at worst case scenario, we're going to be set very quickly. But I don't think we're going to ever be anywhere near that. I really don't believe that we're going to be anywhere near that. Our borders are very controlled. Our flights in from certain areas that we're talking about are very controlled. I don't think we'll ever be anywhere near that. Please go ahead.
Back to the stock market for a second, the travel-related stuff.
Létezik, hogy ebből így lesz a gazdasági világválság, mert hogyha összezuhan a tőzsde, akkor össze fog zuhanni minden.
Looking forward to the summer or the upcoming months and saying to themselves, should I make myself a summer plan? Should I go travel abroad?
Well, hopefully they're going to be able to do that.
Van egy zacskó lőszerem még, meg ki kell takarítani a stukkert, azt akkor utána.
They're going to have to remain a little bit flexible.
Ha kell még kaja, akkor vadászunk.
Travel-related companies, certainly right now, that would be...
Szomszédokkal kezdünk, azok közel
vannak.
vannak.
At the same time, this ends. This is going to end. Hopefully it'll be sooner rather than later. And I think the business that they lost will be picked up at a later date. But, right now, I think they're not going to be, probably not going to be going to China. They're not going to be going to certain countries where the problem is far greater than it is in the United States. What it's going to do is keep people home, and they're going to travel to places that we have. We have it's the greatest tourism country in the world. So instead of leaving our country, leaving our shores, they'll stay here. And again, when you have 15 people, and the 15 within a couple of days is going to be down to close to zero. That's a pretty good job we've done.
What is your response to Speaker Pelosi, who said earlier today that you don't know what you're talking about the coronavirus? I'm also wondering if you want to address critics who can't be trusted about what your administration is saying.
Sure. I think Speaker Pelosi's incompetent. She lost the Congress once. I think she's going to lose it again. She lifted my poll numbers up 10 points. I never thought that I would see that so quickly and so easily. I'm leading everybody. We're doing great.
Van a csávónak humorérzéke, azt mondta, hogy a Nancy Pelosi az impeachment-tel csak segített neki, mert 10 ponttal följebb emelte a
And instead of making a statement like that, where I've been beating her routinely at everything, instead of making a statement like that, she should be saying we have to work together because we have a big problem potentially, and maybe it's going to be a very little problem. I hope that it's going to be a very little problem.
Hát valószínű, hogy ez egész világra kiterjedő.
Same thing with Brian Chuck Schumer. He goes out and he says, the president only asked for $2.5 billion. He should have $8.5 billion. This is the first time I've ever been told that we should take more. Usually it's we have to take less. And we should be working together. He shouldn't be making statements like that. Because it's so bad for the country. And Nancy Pelosi, I mean, she should go back to
Kína csak most vásárolta meg az Aston Martint, úgyhogy Aston Martin se lesz.
That was one of the finest in the world, and now you look at what's happening. And I'm just saying, we should all be working together.
Nem lesz új
She's
iPhone.
trying to create a panic. And there's no reason to panic because we have done so good. These professionals behind me and over here and over there and back here and in some conference rooms. I just left a group of 45 people.
Lehet, hogy Elon Musknak már kész van a Marson a városa, csak nem tudunk róla, ezek meg fölmennek oda.
Can they partake and help them? So Nancy Pelosi shouldn't, and she knows it's not true. She knows all they're trying to do is get a political advantage. This isn't about political advantage. We're all trying to do the right thing. They shouldn't be saying, this is terrible, President Trump isn't asking for enough money. How stupid a thing to say. If they want to give us more money, that's okay, we'll take more money. Some Republicans think we should have more money too, that's okay, we'll take more money. But they shouldn't demean the people that are on the stage who are the finest in the world. They're not demeaning me. They're demeaning the greatest healthcare professionals in the world and people that do exactly what we're talking about.
Your campaign today sued the New York Times for an opinion piece. Yeah. Is it your opinion or is it your contention that if people have an opinion contrary to yours that they should sue?
Well, when they get the opinion totally wrong as the New York Times did, and
vissza kellett, hogy jöjjek online-ra, mert itt van egy ilyen nagy bejelentés az elnökünknek.
No, if you read it, you'll see it's beyond an opinion. That's
úgy néz ki a haja, mint a Photoshopból lenne ott a homlokánál.
And there'll be more coming. There'll be more coming.
Crisis here.
Tokyo will host a summer Olympic this July. Do you expect Tokyo will be?
I hope so, because Shinzo Abe is a very good friend of mine. I love the people of Japan.
Én is nem volt egyszerű összehozni.
Going to be in good shape. As you know, you have a number of people in Japan who have been infected. I hear they're doing a very professional job, which doesn't surprise me at all. With Shinzo and with all of the people you have, I know Japan very well. I think they're going to handle it very well. It's a little tight, it's a little tight. They spent billions of dollars building one of the most beautiful venues I've ever seen. And your Prime Minister is very proud of it. I hope it's going to be fine. We hope it will.
Olyan a haja, mint a Sasi Uskának, szerintem középen nincsen.
CDC just talked about dusting off preparedness plans, but coming from you, it has more weight. Do you feel that U.S. schools should be preparing for a coronavirus spread?
I would think so, yes. I mean, I haven't spoken specifically about that with the various doctors, but I would think so, yes. I think every aspect of our society should be prepared. I don't think it's going to come to that, especially with the fact that
simán, lesz még live. Holnap megyek munkába 8 óra felé nektek este. Akkor bekapcsolom, és egy kicsit megyünk ki Uber Eats-el kaját kiszállítani. Bejöttök velem az étterembe, majd átveszünk a kaját, kiszállítjuk, bedobjuk a kerítés fölött. Csak lazán.
You look at flu season, I said 26,000 people. I never heard of a number like that. 26,000 people going up to 69,000.
Mindenki bontson egy sört.
69,000 people.
Ez megvéd a korona ellen.
Every year from 26 to 69, every year from the flu. Now think of that. It's incredible. So far, the results of all of
Mondjuk
this.
az igaz, amit most mond, hogy több ember hal meg a influenzától évente, de hát majd meglátjuk, hova fajul ez az egész.
Because there's no reason to be panicked about it. But when I mentioned the flu, I said, actually, I asked the various doctors, I said, is this just like flu? Because people die from the flu. And this is very unusual. And it is a little bit different, but in some ways it's easier, in some ways it's a little bit tougher. We have it so well under control. I mean, we really have done a very good job. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. You mentioned the stock market earlier. To go back to that, to be clear, the Dow Jones dropped more than 2,000 points this week. Are you suggesting that that was overblown? Are financial markets overreacting here?
I think the financial markets are very upset when they look at the Democrat candidates standing on that stage making fools out of themselves, and they say, if we ever have a president like this,
csinálhatjuk azt, hogy a telefont fölrakom a mellkasomra, és akkor mellette meg a kis DJI kamerámmal majd veszek föl még egy... Ja, egyszerre 2 kamerával fogunk dolgozni. Csak egy hangmérnököt kéne szerezzek meg egy titkárnál.
I think it did, but I think you can add quite a bit of sell-off to what they're saying, because they're seeing the potential. Again, I think we're going to win. I feel very confident of it. We've done everything and much more than I said we were going to do. You look at what we've done. What we've done is incredible with the tax cuts and regulation cuts and rebuilding our military, taking care of our vets and getting them choice.
Remélem van nektek félrerakva pénzetek, mert most a tőzsde, ha összeomlik, akkor most kell bevásárolni. Most reméljük, hogy még vissza fog egyszer csak erősödni. De mondjuk ennyi ember meghal, akkor...
So you add that in. I really believe that's a factor. But no, this is what we're talking about is the virus. That's what we're talking about. I do believe in terms of CNBC and in terms of Fox Business, I do believe that that's a factor. Yeah. And I think after I win the election, I think the stock market's going to boom like it's never boomed before. Just like it did, by the way, after I won the last election. The stock
azt mondja, hogy valószínű, hogy a tőzsde az vissza fog menni, amikor őt megválasszák újra. Nem van, bejátszhatjuk. Eleve maszkba fogok kimenni.
We don't have a problem. We're not going to loosen the travel restrictions. That's what saved us. Had I not made, Mike alluded to it, had I not made a decision very early on not to take people from a certain area, we wouldn't be talking this way. We'd be talking about many more people would have been infected. I took a lot of heat. I mean, some people call me racist because I made a decision so early. And we had never done that as a country before, let alone early.
Azt mondja, hogy lerasszissák, nem tudom beszélni. Azt mondták rá, hogy rasszista, mert csinált egy ilyen utazási tilalmat a kínaiaknak.
We have to all work together. We can't say bad things, and especially when we have the best team anywhere in the world, and we really gave it an early start. We gave it a very early start.
Have consistently called for enormous cuts to the CDC, the NIH, and the WHO. You've talked a lot today about how these professionals are excellent, how they're critical and necessary. Does this experience at all give you pause about those?
No, because we can get money and we can increase staff. We know all the people. We know all the good people. It's a question I asked the doctors before. Some of the people we cut, they haven't been
Picsába itt van egy egér a szobában.
If we ever need them, we can get them very quickly. And rather than spending the money, and I'm a business person, I don't like having thousands of people around when you don't need them. When we need them, we can get them back very quickly. For instance, we're bringing some people in tomorrow that are already in this great government that we have, and very specifically for this. We can build up very, very quickly, and we've already done that. I mean, we really have built up. We have a great staff, and using Mike, I'm doing that because he's in the administration, and he's very good at doing what he does and doing as it relates to this. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President.
Yeah, go ahead.
So far your administration.
I picked him with your phone.
So far your administration is only testing less than 500 people, and health officials are questioning whether that's enough, comparing to other countries who have tested more than tens of thousands of people. Are you planning to test more people?
Well, we're testing everybody that we need to test, and we're finding very little problem. Now, you treat this like a flu. We were, in fact, I might ask one of the doctors to come up and explain it. You want to wash your hands a lot. You want to stay, if you're not feeling well, if you feel you have a flu, stay inside, sort of quarantine yourself, don't go outside. But there are certain steps that you can take that we won't even be necessary. You know, in many cases, when you catch this, it's very light. You don't even know there's a problem.
Ilyen jó a mikrofonja a telefonomnak. Ebben a Nokia-ban valami zora a mikrofont raktak. Ilyen crunchy peanutsot teszek, ami így néz ki. Ilyen panírozott magyaró. Nem tudom, miben van bepanírozva. Trabantnak az ajtajának az anyagába.
What he expects to be GDP growth for this coming year. He said it was 3%, and we've talked about the effects of the coronavirus on the supply chain, the declines in the financial markets. Are you still confident that you'll see that kind of
Mindegyik újságírót a tőzsdei érdekli.
Unemployment, we're setting records in that way. In fact, the administration is, as you know, the lowest average unemployment of any administration in history, and our numbers are very low, 3.5, 3.6. But you can't really see what this does in terms of GDP. It could affect it, but that's
a chipshez ne felejts el egy sört is kibontani.
We want to make sure it's safe. Safety number one. But this would have, an impact on GDP. But we're still we're doing great. But this will have, just like, I'll tell you what has a big impact. Boeing has a big impact. How did that happen a year ago? All of a sudden, that happened.
Boeingnek a részvényei zuhannak.
It's a massive company. I think Boeing, we had the General Motors strike. That was a big impact on GDP. And of course, we're paying interest rates. I disagree with that.
No.
I'm not happy with what that is, because he's kept interest rates. President Obama didn't have near the numbers.
Ez a sör, ez, amit én iszok.
He was paying zero. We're paying interest. It's more conservative, and frankly, people that put their money away are now getting
vérnarancsból, oké, befókuszált végre.
But I think, we're the greatest of them all. We should be paying the lowest interest rates. And when Germany and other countries are paying negative rates, meaning they're literally getting paid when they put out money. I mean, they borrow money.
Örüljél neki, hogy csak az van.
When it gets paid back,
az legyen a legkisebb bajod. A legnagyobb.
We don't do that. So I totally disagree with our Fed. I think our Fed has made a terrible mistake, and it would have made a big difference. As good as we've done, even without the 2,000 points, and we started off at 16,000.
Itt Amerikában jó sör nincsen.
With that, we're going to crack 30,000. We have had increases like nobody's seen before. But we're doing well, but we have to watch. We're doing well anyway, in other words, even despite the 2,000 points. It sounds like a lot, and it's a lot, but it's not. It's very little compared to what we've gone up. But we'll be watching it very closely. But we have been hurt by General Motors. We've been hurt by Boeing, and we've been hurt, in my opinion, very badly by our own Federal Reserve, who has also created a very strong dollar. That's something nice about a strong dollar, but it makes it much harder to do business outside of this country.
Bárcsak samponos lenne.
Thank you, sir. A number of your supporters online have embraced these theories or forwarded these theories that the CDC may be exaggerating the threat of coronavirus to hurt you politically. Rush Limbaugh the other day said this has been advanced to weaponize the virus against you.
You don't mean my supporters, you mean my people that are not supporters.
Right, your opponents.
I agree with that. I think, and I'd like it to stop. I think people know that when Chuck Schumer gets upset, I mean, he did the same thing with a couple of trade deals that are phenomenal deals now. Everybody's acknowledged they're phenomenal deals. Before he ever saw the deal, he didn't even know we were going to make a deal. They said, what do you think of the deal with China? He talked about tariffs. I left the tariffs on, 25% on $250 billion. He said he took the tariffs off. He didn't even know the deal. And he was out there knocking it, because it's a natural thing to say. But when you're talking about especially something like this, we have to be on the same team. This is too important. We have to be on the same team.
The
CDC is trying to hurt you.
No, I don't think the CDC is at all. No, they've been working really well together. No, they really are. They're professional. I think they're beyond that. They want this to go away. They want to do it with as little disruption, and they don't want to lose life. I see the way they're working. This gentleman, these people behind me, and others that are in the other room. They're incredible people. No, I don't see that at all.
Miről szavaztok szombaton már? Annyira nem követem az ottani dolgokat.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight you're minimizing the risk, the danger of the virus. Are you telling the Americans, except for the ones who are sick, not to change any of their behaviors?
No, I think you have to always, I do it a lot anyway.
Itt volt egy felforgató kérdező riporter.
Stay clean. You don't have to necessarily grab every handrail unless you have to. You do certain things that you do when you have the flu. I mean, view this the same as the flu. When somebody sneezes, I try and bail out as much as possible with the sneezing. I had a man come up to me a week ago. I hadn't seen him in a long time, and I said, "How you doing?" He said, "Fine, fine." He hugs me, kisses me. I said, "Are you well?" He says, "No." He said, "I have the worst fever and the worst flu," and he's hugging and kissing me. So I said, "Excuse me." I went there, I started washing my hands. So you have to do that. This is. You want to treat this like you treat the flu, right? And it's going to be. I want to have you. I love you. It was so nice of you to say thank you very much. Go ahead. Give me a nice question, though. Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it with a bad question.
Ez a csávó, az kemény, imádom a stílusát, mert igazi New York-i paraszt.
2014. During the Ebola crisis, you said you wanted a quote-unquote full travel ban. You said Obama was a quote-unquote stubborn dope not for doing it. You said, just stop the flights, dummies. You also said it was a quote-unquote total joke to appoint someone to lead the Ebola response with, quote, zero experience in the medical field. Now you've appointed
They listened to a lot of what I have to say.
I did. So how does that square with what you're doing?
They listened to a lot, well, because this is a much different problem than Ebola. Ebola, you disintegrated, especially at the beginning. They've made a lot of progress now in Ebola. But with Ebola, we were talking about it before. You disintegrated. You got Ebola. That was it. This one is different, much different. This is a flu. This is like a flu. And this is a much different situation than Ebola. But and we're working on Ebola right now, by the way. We're working on certain areas of the Congo. The Congo has Ebola, and caused largely by the fact that they have war and people can't get there. We can now treat Ebola. At that time, it was infectious, and you couldn't treat it. Nobody knew anything about it. Nobody had ever heard of anything like this. So it's a much different situation.
The mortality.
I think it was to me. Thank you. So let me ask you this.
Yeah, go ahead.
In just the course of the last couple of minutes, you have disputed some of what the officials that are working in your administration behind you have said about the risk of coronavirus and its spread. Do you trust your health officials to give you good information, or do you trust your own instincts more?
I don't think I have. They've said it could be worse, and I've said it could be worse too. I also think, no, I don't think it's inevitable. I don't think it's inevitable. I think that we're doing a really good job in terms of maintaining borders, in terms of letting people in terms of checking people. And also, that's one of the reasons I'm here today, getting the word out so people they'll know. They're going to know. No, I don't think it's inevitable. I think that there's a chance that it could get worse. There's a chance it could get fairly substantially worse, but nothing's inevitable.
Gyerekek, miért csak négyen vagyunk? Hol a többi ember?
Mr. President, Brazil has its first case.
That's right. Brazil.
Right, Brazil.
Yeah.
And you have many Americans now in Brazil for Carnival. What are your concerns, and what are the procedures and practices that you plan to implement as those Americans are trying to come back?
When people coming in from Brazil,
alig várom, hogy csináljunk motoros live-ot.
But it only has one case, but still it's a case. We deal with Brazil very well. The president's a very good friend of mine. In fact, he ran on it's called Make Brazil Great Again. That's what he ran on. We get along very well. I know you're so thrilled to hear that. We get along very, very well. And we're working with Brazil, but we have much worse instances than Brazil.
Szia, jó
In
éjszakát,
Italy,
Peti,
and you
jó
have other
legyél.
countries where they
Szép
have much more
álmokat.
than one person. They have one person right now, as of just a little while
Holnap
ago.
8
one
óra
person in
körül este
Brazil.
nektek.
But Italy is
Lehet, hogy kicsit hamarabb,
a deeper
megint
problem.
megyünk live-ba.
And we're checking people coming in very, very strongly from those. And at some point, we may cut that off. At some point, depending on what happens, we may cut certain additional countries off, like we've had to do with China. And we hope we can open it up to China as soon as possible. And we hope the numbers we've been getting. We hope the numbers that we've been getting are true on China, where it really has leveled off and started to go down. Because eventually, sometime that's going to happen. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. You've said repeatedly that you think the federal government is very prepared, that you're ready for this.
Yep.
But if you think that Secretary Azar is doing such a great job, why did you feel the need to make a change and put Vice President Mike Pence in charge of the federal response to this virus?
I think Secretary Azar is doing a fantastic job. But he also has many other things. I mean, we're working on many, many things together. If you look at his schedule of what he's doing, including drug prices, and I think it's perhaps the most complicated job that we have in government. And I want him to be able to focus on that. And Mike is really good at it. They're going to work together. They're going to work very closely together. And they're both in the administration. I see them all the time, so it really works. This isn't a czar. This isn't going out and getting somebody that's never been in the administration. I have two people that are very talented, and it's something I feel good about. I don't want to spare the horses. I have very talented people. I want to use them on this because I want it to stay low or as low as possible.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to get to China. At the beginning of this outbreak, the Chinese Communist Party covered it up. That has been the general consensus of everyone. How can you now legitimately trust President Xi and the Chinese Communist regime, President Xi, and the Chinese Communist regime to be forthcoming and forthright?
Valakiről beszéltek, és azt mondták, hogy Xi, tehát ez már a harmadik nem, vagy a negyedik nem, vagy ötödik nem, tehát nem Xi or Xi, hanem Xi, Trump megkijavította, hogy Xi, tehát hogy férfi.
It's a significant group of very talented people that are working. And they're calling up Dr. Fauci, they're calling up our people, we're dealing with them, we're giving them certain advice. We actually have, through World Health, we have them over there also, and we have a lot of our people making up that group that went over there. No, he's working very hard. It'd be very easy for me to say, it doesn't matter what I say, really. I can tell you, he is working. I had a long talk with him the other night. He is working really, really hard. He wants it to go away from China and go away fast, and he wants to get back to business as usual.
Comparison to the coronavirus. Flu has a fatality ratio of about 0.1%. Correct. This has a fatality ratio somewhere between 2 and 3%.
Well, we don't know exactly the numbers so far. And the flu is higher than that. The flu is much higher than that.
There's more people who get the flu, but this is spreading. It's going to spread maybe within communities. That's the expectation. Does that worry you? Because that seems to be what worries the Americans.
No, because we're ready for it. It is what it is. We're ready for it. We're really prepared. We have, as I said, we have the greatest people in the world. We're very ready for it. We hope it doesn't spread. There's a chance that it won't spread too, and there's a chance that it will. And then it's a question of at what level. So far, we've done a great job. When you have 15 people with this whole world coming into the United States, and the 15 people are either better or close to being better, that's pretty good. All right, we'll do one more.
Mr. President, there have been many cases of price gouging on the sales of medical equipment, masks, and so on. Should the government be investigating that, looking into it, and do you have a message on that?
If you tell me that's happening, we would definitely investigate. We don't want that. One more. Go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you.
Go ahead. No. Yes? Go ahead.
Are you working with China right now, specifically in what areas? Also,
we're working with China. We just did the biggest trade deal in history. We did two of them between USMCA and the China deal. It's the biggest in history. The relationship with China is a very good one. And I can tell you that, again, President Xi is working really hard. He wants this problem solved as hard as you can work. Thank you all. Thank you all. I'm going to leave you behind and you can answer a few more questions.
Ennyi volt, Trump bácsinak mennie kell golfozni. mondja, hülye kérdésekre, hülye válasz. Szevasztok. Ennyi, kit érdekel, mit mondtok?
Secretary Azar, given the
I think if I could just clarify, I think you're not getting the point here of this. I'm still chairman of the task force. Mick Mulvaney's been serving actually an invaluable role for me as acting chief of staff, helping to coordinate across the government with my colleagues and the whole of government approach. Having the vice president gives me the biggest stick one could have in the government on this whole of government approach.
You don't
So,
feel like you're being replaced.
not in the least. When this was mentioned to me, I was delighted that I get to have the vice president helping in this way. Delighted, absolutely.
Lelépett a Führer.
I've testified for 8 hours today in 3 hearings. Maybe tomorrow.
A távol az alatt az. A rúgva. Juncker. Hopp.
Yes, I hear you.
Szia, Zsuzsi.
Thank you. Hallie Mike 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hallie Mike 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys good?
Igaz, meg a cicit.
Yeah, I got you guys. Hi.
Most mi történt?
All right, looks like Fox changed our shot there. Obviously, President Trump, though, addressed coronavirus in
Uramisten, berakták az indián nőt.
Na
Na jó, gyerekek, ennyi volt már a live. Köszönöm, hogy megnéztétek. Holnap nektek este 8 körül jövünk újra. És hogy kell állítani?
All evening long. Just a reminder, you can always subscribe to our page. That way you can stay up to date on everything that's been happening here across I want to say across the world. Fox continues to change our shots here just a few times. So